The Bank of Canada just made an announcement that things are going to get even more difficult for people who just want to stay in their homes. Now, if you're in the rental market looking for a rental place, people are finding some crazy posts on the internet here. Private room for rent, $9.20 a month. You get into what's actually being available. Just ridiculous. Sleeping under a bed. I can only stay there for sleeping from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. Plus, I have to share the room with 14. Yes, 14 other people in the same unit, and even specifically mentions it only fits a smaller person since the space below the bed is not that spacious. Such madness. Darshan Maharaja, friend of the channel here, saying on Twitter, this state of housing crisis in Canada, space available for rent to sleep under a bed only between these hours. Unit shared with 14 people. Renter must have a small physical stature to fit in. It's too tight. But this isn't just going to be renters that are going to be hurting in the coming months. New numbers suggest that Canadians are going to pay a whole lot more for their mortgages. Yes, that's right. The Bank of Canada has come out to talk about this specifically. According to a new report from the Bank of Canada, Canadians are headed towards steep mortgage payment increases at renewal. The cohort that will see the highest increases, according to the report, are Canadians with fixed payment variable mortgages. Now, the article goes on to explain exactly what that is. I'll leave a link in the description down below. If you don't know that, you can read the article to find that out. Fixed payment variable mortgage holders are going to get hit the hardest. In fact, the report includes that by 2026, it's anticipated that a variable rate mortgage holder who have fixed payments are going to be paying 62% more at renewal than they are currently. That is ridiculous. Many people are just barely holding on to what they've got, and it's 62% more. Well, that's going to put a lot of people underwater. Absolutely. Kirk Lubimov commenting on this on X, saying, here's what the anticipated increase in cost of mortgage payments will be in Canada year by year and mortgage type. Double-digit increases for all. Some will see a 50% increase in their mortgage payments. A day of reckoning is coming for many mortgage holders, and billions of dollars of whatever disposable income left will be sucked out of Canada's economy. Of course, if people don't have any money to spend on other things, people aren't going to consume anything. People aren't going to be investing in anything. Their money is just going to get sucked into their debt for their home, and that is unsustainable. People can't do that. Renters will not be immune. Many of these dwellings, specifically condos, will be underwater in value to debt holding, and people will have a hard choice to make. A recession in any of the next few years will turn this into a complete disaster. Well, do you think there's going to be a recession? Well, perhaps we're in one. Canada's GDP growth hit half the estimate. Previous data lowered. Leave a link in the description. Better Dwelling, a great source for economic news if you want to read about that. Now, where was I? In response to this tweet, Wacko Trudeau links on X says, this gives me PTSD flashbacks from the 80s when many people lost their homes because of high interest rates, including my parents. This isn't an unusual story in Canada. Many people went through this. It was absolutely devastating to our family, and my parents never owned a home after that. And that it went up into the 20s%. And Canada is not in a situation unlike that. In fact, interest rates ought to be going up much higher. That would lead to a faster recovery for the economy as a whole. But this is the thing. There's no political will to do that. And the Bank of Canada has a lot of political pressure on them to lower rates, not raise rates. Kirk Lubimov replying, homeownership isn't being promoted in Canada anymore. It won't be a reality for many until mass immigration is cut. And that is a large driver in this, along with other things like the Canadian government that just can't quit spending. They got an addiction to spending money on fruitless, frivolous things. And well, that leads, especially when they have to print new money, issue new currency for this, it dilutes all the rest of our dollars out there. It's a tax that is the most insidious of taxes, absolutely. Steve on X says Canadian mortgage holders renewing next year will see a projected 25% increase in their monthly mortgage payments. That jumps to over 30% for those renewing in 2026, and even higher for variable rate mortgage holders. This is sort of the the idea here is it's crazy how insane these mortgage prices are going to go up, and it's the trend. Many people buying their homes during the COVID massively low interest rates, and that's what comes up in this article here from the Globe and Mail. Bank of Canada warns steep jump in mortgage payments. Tiff Macklem, I'm going to get into what he said specifically, but the next phase in mortgage resets, however, could be more painful. Many people whose mortgages are scheduled to renew over the next 2 years purchased their home early in the pandemic, when the Bank of Canada's policy interest rate was at an emergency low of 0.25%. It has since risen to 5%. Most Bay Street economists expect the central bank to begin cutting rates this summer. I doubt that's going to happen, but they're saying that. They've been saying this for ever since the rates started going up. But Mr. Macklem has warned that interest rates will likely decline slowly and not go back to levels seen either during the pandemic or in the decade before. Low interest rates for too low for too long leads to malinvestment, and that's what we're looking at, a housing market that's inflated. Those that will shoulder the largest payments increases are homeowners who have variable rate mortgages with a fixed monthly payment, where the monthly payment has remained the same throughout the term of the mortgage. For those mortgage holders, the steepest rise will occur in 2026, with the median monthly payment rising by more than 60%. According to bank estimates, in 2025, the median increase is more than 50%. This year, about 30%. So it is going to accelerate increasingly over the next 2 years. It's going to be a lot. Now here's Tiff Macklem talking about this in his statement just, I believe, yesterday.
Base case, it does look like most households have the financial flexibility to cope with higher interest payments. Now, I would say two things. First of all, that doesn't mean it's easy. Canadians are making their mortgage payments. They're keeping up with their car loans. They're keeping up with their credits by and large. The way they're doing that is they're cutting back on their consumption. And we can see that in our sort of macro forecast, our monetary policy deliberations. Consumption per capita has been weak. So it's not easy, but it's not showing up at a big deterioration in their financial health. The second thing I would say is, look, higher Canadians do have higher household debt than many other countries. That is a vulnerability. And in particular, if the labor market was to weaken, if the unemployment rate was to go up considerably, people were losing their jobs, that would really start to impact their ability to make those payments. And that could be an amplifier if the economy weakened sharply. So we certainly will be looking at the financial stress indicators of both mortgage holders and non-mortgage holders going forward. Certainly in the base case, we think there is the financial flexibility to cope, but there are risks.
Yes, there are risks. And speaking of risks, listening to Tiff Macklem might be risky. This was him just about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago.
Our message to Canadians is that interest rates are very low and they're going to be there for a long time. We recognize that Canadian businesses are facing an unusual amount of uncertainty. And so we have been unusually clear about the future path for interest rates. If you've got a mortgage, or if you're considering to make a major purchase, or you're a business and you're considering making an investment, you can be confident that interest rates will be low for a long time.
Oh, that was some bad financial advice, considering what they did next. It didn't take much longer, but then they rose the interest rates to 5%. And I honestly think that the interest rates could rise higher. This is an I know there's political pressure for them to lower interest rates, but that would be just kicking the can down the road in this economy. But I'd love to hear what you have to say on this. Please leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about all of this. If you're in a situation like this, so many Canadians are going to be in this situation where will your interest will your payments be going up by 60% in the next year and a half to 2 years? Let me know in the comments down below. We'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.